Now, my friends, make no mistake about it. When I was in synagogue on Saturday, we were aware of what had happened in Poway, California. We were aware of that shooter who killed one person and shot several others. And we'd seen other attacks. Pittsburgh just happened a few months ago. And we knew, we weren't afraid, but we knew that there was cause for concern. Now, there are several people in my synagogue, myself included, who are gun owners, and believe me, if anybody ever came in and did that, they would die that day. Question is how much damage they would do beforehand. Everyone's trying to figure out what led to a shooting like that. Well, here's a possible answer. Item from the Jerusalem Post. Condemnations of the New York Times increased over the weekend after the paper's international edition published an anti-Semitic cartoon. The offensive image was of a blind U.S. President Donald Trump wearing a yarmulke, being walked by a dog with the face of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and wearing a Star of David collar. Despite the paper calling it an, quote, error in judgment to publish it, congressmen and Jewish organizations joined the chorus of outrage. U.S. Ambassador to Germany Richard Grinnell called the cartoon despicable, and the American Jewish Committee said it was, quote, naked anti-Semitism. Of course, and I have no clue why anybody would be surprised about anti-Semitism coming from the New York Times. New York Times has always been anti-Israel. The New York Times, back during World War II, covered up, refused to report on the Holocaust. Liberals generally are anti-Semitic. It's just how they are. It's part of the mental derangement that they have. This cartoon that the Times ran is the kind of thing you would expect to have seen printed on a leaflet in someone's basement and left on car windshields. That's how odious it is. And I fully expect that the leadership of the New York Times will resign or be fired. They richly deserve to be fired. Imagine a racially charged cartoon about black people or about Hispanic people. Or imagine, if you will, a cartoon that showed the Prophet Muhammad in a derogatory manner. We already know what happens in instances like that. We saw it in France with Charlie Hebdo. So why does the New York Times feel it can get away with an anti-Semitic cartoon? Well, it's because Jews are generally not violent people. No one's going to shoot up the New York Times office for an anti-Semitic cartoon. But the talk about Muslims, Muslims are violent people. Their holy book preaches violence, and so no, you're not going to see any anti-Muslim cartoons in the New York Times. Thank you. But make no mistake about it. The editor-in-chief, the person who made that cartoon, they need to resign post-haste ipso facto. And if they don't, the paper needs to be pressured to fire them. Inexcusable in this day and age to allow that kind of garbage to go on. In an era in which you can't even call a man if he's decided he was a woman, you can still make broadcast anti-Semitic canards. It's disgusting. And in fact, my friends, I would appreciate it if after the show you would get on your phones, even during the show, call the New York Times in New York, call the switchboard, and tell them you demand that the editor-in-chief and the publisher resign. It's an outrage. It's a slap in the face. Item. From the Wall Street Journal, President Trump's push to revamp North America's trade rules is hitting a roadblock in Washington as Democrats and labor groups demand changes, dimming its chances of passage before next year's election cycle. As Congress returns from recess this week with a plate full of priorities, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and other prominent Democrats have signaled they won't allow a vote on the administration's new agreement with Canada and Mexico without certain changes. Democrats say they want to make it easier to enforce new rules designed to strengthen labor rights in Mexico. My friends, Donald Trump and the Republicans are trying to safeguard Americans. They're looking out for Americans. Trump works for Americans. So he's pushing things that are in Americans' best interest. Pelosi and the Democrats are looking after Mexicans in Mexico. Now, it seems like whatever news item we're discussing, it always comes down to the same thing. I say something like, I can't believe anybody would vote for the Democrats when they do stuff like this. Pelosi, Schumer, and the Democrats are looking out for Mexicans. Why? Because it's in their own self-interest. And we've reached a point in our country's history where looking after the American people is not in the self-interest of the political class. Well, Donald Trump isn't part of the political class. He jumped into politics for one reason, to be president, and he is. And he's trying to safeguard the people of this country. The Democrats are fighting him. The Democrats are the pro-murder and rape and drug smuggling and human trafficking party. It's completely disgusting to have one of our two major political parties working against the United States and the American people. It is a sad, sad day, but it's true. All right, let's do this. Let's go to a commercial break, right? It's Monday. By the way, the show is called Real Truth. My name is Howard Riell. When we come back, we're going to visit with my good friend Michael Avenatti, the sleazebag lawyer. We're going to hear from Newt Gingrich. We're going to hear from Glenn Beck. A whole bunch of great stuff today, folks. It's going to be an exciting week. Passover is over. Back to eating pizza. We'll be right back.
Before hiring a realtor from a big corporation who outsources the job to make little tax, ask yourself, what do you want in a realtor? You need a realtor that's honest, that has integrity. A realtor is focused on the client's bottom line, not the realtor's bottom line. It provides personal, over-the-top service before, during, and after the transaction. You want a realtor that knows how to market your property. Hi, I'm James Morgan, a realtor with Grisham & Associates LLC. I am your Colorado real estate specialist. Land deals, mountain cabins, or urban dwellings, I've got you covered. For the first-time home buyer, we will make it the best experience. If you are looking to move up or downsizing, we will do better than your last transaction. Call me today at 720-203-0731 or visit coloradoproperties.online. Let me do a great job for you. Join us and don't miss the moment of Galveston Junction, your number one source for independent media. Find out what the mainstream media is want you to know. InfoWars is pro-America, pro-Catholic, pro-freedom. We are these seven steps. Exclusive reports, live coverage, information you won't find anywhere else. Tomorrow's news. Stay informed by listening to KHNC 1360 AM. The Alex Jones Show, KHNC, the heart of Northern Colorado.
All right, guys, welcome back to Real Truth. Howard Riell behind the microphone. I assume you've already gone to my website, howardriell.com, R-I-E-L-L. If you want to contact me about speaking to your organization, your event, your church, contact me at howardriell@gmail.com. Just that simple. If you're looking for an absolutely fantastic book to read, I've got you covered there too. Real Truth, Stay Angry. You'll find it online, Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, VirtualBookworm.com. Either way, if you can't get enough of Howard Riell, well, see a psychiatrist, but that's a whole different matter. Glenn Beck, he's a really bright guy, multi-millionaire. He does what I do, only I do it without the multi-millions. There are people who say I'm an alarmist. When I say America's facing an existential threat on our border, because we won't stop the flow of people coming here illegally, people think I'm an alarmist. Well, here's Glenn Beck, respected by a lot more people than respect me. And he's saying the same thing. Let's listen.
I believe we are one election away from losing the Constitution of the United States of America. Fundamental transformation that Barack Obama was looking for is this presidential election away. Now, I want you to hear me carefully.
Exactly. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And this country is in such great shape now, only a fool would want to tinker with it. And so, call Central Casting, have them send over a collection of fools and clowns. They're called the Democrat candidates running for president. Only an idiot would mess with this finely tuned engine that Donald Trump has given us, and yet people aren't happy. They want to rip it apart.
New Deal was when we had
And with all those guarantees, by the way, with all the various guarantees that Glenn Beck just named, they're not guaranteed at all. The only thing that's guaranteed is bankruptcy for the United States. Misery, poverty, crime, despair, hopelessness, all of that is guaranteed if the Green New Deal was ever actually implemented. And you heard for yourself, there are a lot of people among those candidates running for the Democrat nomination who want the Green New Deal. Look at this bird brain in New York, Bill de Blasio. He's already beginning to implement it. Democrat policies simply do not work. If all they did was not work, it wouldn't be so bad. But they cause destruction. They're deadly for this country. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Redistribute the land in the state. Here's what I'm saying. If you don't pay attention, and you don't start talking about the politicians, I'm talking about the people that you know that are, if you had a real conversation, and the politicians in Washington, you have a real conversation.
Look at it the other way, Glenn. The only thing holding the economy together is this president. With all due respect to Mike Pence, he seems to be a fine man and a very able vice president. He's not Donald Trump. And after 8 years in office, Donald Trump will leave. Who will take his place? No idea. Mike Pence? I don't think he has the charisma to get people to vote for him. And I don't think he's made of steel like Donald Trump is. I don't think he thinks outside the box like Donald Trump does. So who would be a worthy successor to Donald Trump? I don't know. I don't see one out there. That's what scares me. That's what keeps me awake at night.
So disliked by so many people that they are holding on to him because they're not in pain. The minute this thing falls apart, in an election year, forget about what they stand for. People in America will say, okay, I don't want any more of that. I want somebody over here. And these guys are compassionate, and they're going to help. And you know what? This system, I'm not sure this system even works anymore. The only reason why they're putting a Green New Deal up, and all of them, the presidential candidates, all of them are signing on to this, is because this is the end of the American experiment. This election. And it can happen that fast, and will.
My friends, he's right. And so it turns out I have not been an alarmist. I'm absolutely spot on. All the great, tremendous progress that Donald Trump has made in these 2+ years could be wiped out in 1 year by a moron Democrat president in the White House. If the Democrats hold the House, that just makes the destruction of this country all the more likely. In just a little over 2 years, Trump has done amazing, almost miraculous things for this country and the people in it. And it boggles my mind but there are people who have been fighting against it and want it to come to an end. It is that quirk of human nature that enables somebody that everybody describes, he was such a nice guy, he was very quiet, he kept to himself, to walk in someplace and open fire on human beings. Who knows the dark labyrinths of the human mind? But there are people who actually want to stop the great progress that we've made. They want to raise taxes. They want to drop our borders, get rid of ICE, commit sanctuary cities, sanctuary campuses, sanctuary states, so the criminals have a place to hide where they're safe from the authorities. They want to spend untold trillions of dollars on man-made global warming when there is no man-made global warming. This is an existential threat. It's a battle for the very existence of the United States of America. That's how high the stakes are. Make no mistake about it. Item. From Reuters, Michael Avenatti, the combative lawyer known for his battles with U.S. President Donald Trump, was set to appear in a Santa Ana, California courtroom on Monday, that's today, to face criminal charges including fraud and identity theft. California prosecutors accused him of misusing more than $12 million he received on behalf of clients following settlements and other negotiations. Avenatti, who's free on $300,000 bond, in a statement Monday cited Donald Trump and said he was entitled to be presumed innocent. He also said on Twitter that he would plead not guilty, unquote. My friends, I don't know if Michael Avenatti is guilty or not. I do know that he is the human equivalent of snot on a doorknob. I do know that when you open the dictionary and look up the phrase sleazy lawyer, they actually have a picture of Michael Avenatti. And this is the guy who is being floated as a possible Democrat candidate for president. This sleazeball was looked at as a savior, a champion of the Democrat Party. If that's not enough to get you to swear off voting for Democrats for the rest of your life, then I don't know what is. Item from Breitbart. The Texas police officer who arrested Representative Robert Francis Beto O'Rourke for driving drunk in 1998 still believes the 2020 presidential candidate attempted to flee the scene of the ordeal, according to a report. Now former Anthony Police Department officer Richard Carrera, who arrested O'Rourke along with his sergeant Gary Hargrove, told the Texas Tribune Wednesday they still maintain that the police report detailing the 20-year-old incident is accurate. Quote, I believe we have contradicting stories here, Carrera acknowledged in the Texas Tribune, before adding, quote, I stand by my report, unquote. So Beto O'Rourke was and almost certainly still is a punk who thinks he's above the law and can't be trusted. Fortunately, he's already last week's newspaper. He's been totally eclipsed by Pete Butt-I-Gag from Bend, South Indiana. And so Beto O'Rourke is well on his way to becoming a trivia answer. We don't have to worry about him anymore. We do have to worry about the lame brains who are planning on voting for him and now want to vote for Mayor Butt-I-Gag. Those are the people we got to worry about. Let's take a break. We'll be back after this.
Was your home built between 1965 and 1975? If so, you may have an aluminum wire home. Aluminum wiring can be handled. These homes are around 50 years old now. Using more electrical power than ever imagined back in the day. An aluminum wire does not get better with time. They are much harder to insure and harder to sell as well. Aluminum wire repair are electric. Focus on the permanent mitigation of the aluminum wire hazard. Call them for a free inspection now. Aluminum wire repair, 720-299-4700.
All right, folks, now that we've established that I am not an alarmist, I think we've established that pretty well, then that sheds light on another assertion I've made, that this whole Mueller probe thing, this Russian collusion narrative, was a coup d'etat. It was an attempted coup, an attempt to take over our government. Sounds like a plot from a movie, but it was the real deal. Here's former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich on Fox Business. Forgive me, Newt. I also hope there's accountability, and it's because I'm an old geezer. I remember 1974. I remember Richard Nixon resigning and being replaced by Gerald Ford, who was his vice president. And I remember Gerald Ford going on TV and saying he was going to pardon Richard Nixon, which of course he did. I remember how demoralized America was. We felt cheated. We felt robbed. I don't mean because we wanted Richard Nixon's scalp, although a lot of people did. We wanted justice done. Nixon committed crimes. He needed to pay for those crimes like everybody who commits a crime should pay for it, and he never did. He got a buy. And I think it had a tremendously negative effect on Americans, and probably that effect lingers even today. It contributed to the malaise that we've gone through. Because we saw there's a two-tiered justice system. One for the big shots and the rest for us. I would like to see grill marks on Hillary Clinton's butt. Well, not really. But I want to see her fried for what she's done. At the very least, I want to see her tried. All these slime bags, Comey, McCabe, you know the names by now. I want to see them in court, facing charges. I want them prosecuted. The trials will go however the trials will go. I want them brought to justice, and so do you. By the way, it's pretty clear at this point that Barack Obama was involved also. I also want to see him in the dock facing charges. Now you can continue, Newt. That's an excellent point. Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General under Barack Obama. Joe Biden, the Vice President under Barack Obama. All these things were happening, and the Democrats are playing no see, no hear, no speak. No, doesn't work that way. If these things were happening, it all emanated from the top, which means all three of those people were involved. And again, I want to see justice done. Got to investigate. We got to prosecute. And if things went the way I think it's pretty obvious they went, then we need to convict. Americans demand fairness.
What did Biden know? Tom, you've written about this.
Do. We may not get it as quickly as we want, but I do think there's going to be accountability. We will find out exactly how this happened.
Yeah, that's not enough there, Tom. I don't want to just find out how this all happened. I have a pretty good idea already how it happened. I want punishment meted out to the people who committed crimes. I want criminals punished. It's not an outrageous idea. Because we've seen so many times, just like I had mentioned with Richard Nixon, the people at the top never have to pay for their crimes. The American people need to see that there is one justice system for all Americans. And if we don't, our problems will multiply. All right, I'm going to stop it there. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Eric Swalwell. He is a piece of garbage who is the least likely to win the Democrat nomination because he's such a nothing. And when you hear him speak, you'll know exactly what I mean. More Real Truth ahead.
Join us to your number one independent media. Find out what the mainstream media wants to know. InfoWars, pro-America, pro-family, pro-freedom, exclusive reports, live coverage, information you won't find anywhere. Tomorrow's news today. Stay informed by listening to KHNC 1368. The Alan Jones Show, KHNC, the heart of Northern Colorado. The Victory Trading Group is a different kind of gold company. Cleaning up the industry for 21 years. Are you tired of the high prices that impacting the constant phone calls? Are you done with the bait and switch? You just want to be treated fairly with honesty and respect. That's exactly what you get when you call 800-951-0592. You have my word on it. I'm Jim Jacobs, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group. Check us out online, allamericangolds.com. You stand with the Patriots, green, and black, green, card, and white card. installed in your backyard. We brought Thank you for your support.
All right, guys, we are back. Now, Representative Eric Swalwell. I've seen him on TV many times. He can look you straight in the eye and tell you 2 and 2 is 5. And if you disagree with him, he'll say it louder. That's the kind of jackass this guy is. Here is, we're going to Fox News Next Revolution. They're talking about Eric Swalwell. In fact, I think we're even going to hear from him. So you listen and you make up your own mind. This is the kind of idiot the Democrats are running. Go.
Russia's position. Russians, Russia.
All right, hang on one second. You know, I've been a journalist this year, as of this year, for 40 years. I've never been nominated for a Pulitzer Prize. Okay, I can live with that. I had a friend say to me, hey, I'll nominate you for a Pulitzer Prize. What's the mailing address? I'll send them a letter and I'll nominate you. And you can always say you were nominated for a Pulitzer Prize. Well, that would be completely ridiculous and bogus, and I would not do it. But Eric Swalwell is doing it. He's got 0 - 8 chances of being elected president. He's running because merely having his hat in the ring, having his name listed as a candidate, he thinks will raise his profile. And in all fairness, in one way, he's right. More people than ever before are seeing that he's a lying moron. Now, my friends, he just said a mouthful. And no, I didn't mean that. I mean, this is an era-defining election. Does America want to go forward, or do we want to go backwards? Do we want to be great again, like it says on those pretty red hats? Or do we want to undo the progress we've made so far and become a third world nation? It's an existential question. The Democrats are very open about it. They want us to be a third world nation. They want America to be Venezuela. Well, I'm thinking if you want America to be Venezuela, there's something wrong with the way you think. And we dare not let those people decide who our leader is going to be. Hold on. What message is he putting out there? He hasn't given any policy specifics, really, just a couple in general terms. All he is flash in the pan. He's a gay man, and that's all you need for liberals. They're ready to vote for him.
It could be a sign intended to the
Maybe he has a really great dated everyman quality about him. I don't get everyman quality about him at all. Well, I think Pete Buttigieg can indeed pull to the center. Item from Breitbart. Arthur Laffer, economist and author of Trumponomics Inside the America First Plan to Revive Our Economy, praised President Donald Trump's economic policies while warning of Senator Bernie Sanders' socialistic prescriptions for an increased economic centralization. He offered his analysis on a Monday-aired interview on SiriusXM's Breitbart News Daily. He said, quote, I think Steve Moore, who has been nominated for the Federal Reserve governorship, is an excellent person, a wonderful guy, a journalist who has specialized in economics. He knows the stuff pretty well. He's amazing. He's held a lot of big-time jobs over the years, and I've known him probably for 25 years, and he would be an excellent member of the Federal Reserve Board, to be honest. Unquote. My friends, I'm familiar with Stephen Moore. I read one of his books. I've seen him on TV many times. He's an extremely bright guy, quite conservative, and I think he will indeed do a fantastic job as a Federal Reserve governor. And I'd love to see Trump putting people like that up there. We'll take a break. We'll come back and finish up here on Real Truth.
Join us at the Alan Jones Show, your number one find out what the mainstream media is info works pro America, pro family, pro freedom. We are the Booty 76. Exclusive reports, live coverage, information you won't find anywhere else. Tomorrow's news today. Stay warm by listening to KHNC 1368. The Alan Jones Show, KHNC, the heart of Boulder, Colorado. I won't think about anywhere for all kinds of news. The one thing the case is great. Just like that. Everything. Just like that. Just like that. Just like that. Fine. Just like that. Wrong. Ready? 951 459. Just like that. Accident, traffic, bill, just like that.
Okay, we're back. We're going to finish it up. Item from Reuters, Dateline, Kasawa, Uganda. Mariam Nabatanzi gave birth to twins a year after she was married off at the age of 12. 5 more sets of twins followed, along with 4 sets of triplets and 5 sets of quadruplets. 3 years ago, however, the 39-year-old Ugandan was abandoned by her husband, leaving her to support their surviving 38 children alone. Nabatanzi lives with her children in 4 cramped houses made of cement blocks and topped with corrugated iron in a village surrounded by coffee fields north of Kampala. Unquote. My friends, is it too much to hope that people who are so poor they can't feed themselves should not go out and have 38 children? Now, if you're going to say, well, hang on a second, Riell. They're in Africa. They don't know. Don't tell me that. Africans aren't stupid. They know, and they've been getting assistance from Europe and the United States for decades. They know about birth control. And if they decide not to use birth control, well, doesn't that make it their burden to carry and not anyone else's? Item. From the Wall Street Journal, Senator Elizabeth Warren is proposing using taxpayer money to wipe out hundreds of billions of dollars in student loan debt as a way to control rising college costs. Ms. Warren is also proposing eliminating tuition and fees at every U.S. public 2- and 4-year college by having Washington negotiate with states to split the costs of tuition and fees. Additionally, she would boost funding for Pell Grants, federal aid for college expenses that doesn't have to be paid back, by $100 billion over the next year. Unquote. My friends, people refer to Elizabeth Warren as Liawatha. And if you ask her where we're going to get the money to pay for all these freebies, she will lie. Awatha. Item from Breitbart. French high school students attending anti-racism sessions this week have been warned that it would be, quote, bizarre to feel greater emotion over the Notre Dame Cathedral fire than about the plight of migrants in the Mediterranean, unquote. My friends, that message itself is bizarre. The cathedral at Notre Dame, which I myself have seen and walked in and inspected, is a national treasure for France. The migrants suffering who have come from the Mediterranean are a national tragedy for France. Nobody told them to come to France, and yet they came. And now they're pathetic. They have no one to blame but themselves. The door is that way. Item from the End of the American Dream blog. The bombings in Sri Lanka have once again put a spotlight on the rising tide of violence against Christians all over the world. According to Open Doors USA, an average of 105 churches and/or Christian buildings are burned or attacked every month. That's more than 3 per day, and almost all those attacks get ignored by the mainstream media in the Western world. Unquote. My friends, let's make no bones about it. Those attacks are being perpetrated by Muslims. Christians are under siege thanks to Muslims. Churches the world over are being attacked, destroyed, desecrated by Muslims. Now, if you're okay with that, well, I'm going to have to disagree with you because I'm not okay with that. What I am okay with is leashing and shackling Muslims so that they can't continue this outrage. No matter where in the world you go, you find Muslims killing and destroying. When is it enough? When do we say enough? When do we do something to stop the horror? Well, my friends, that's a question I've been asking. This August will be 11 years. I have yet to hear anyone come up with a serious answer. Instead, I hear apologies from Muslims. I hear people worrying about Islamophobia, as if it's a real thing. It would be insane not to be concerned with the threat posed by Islam. All right, I am done. Toot sweet. I will be back tomorrow with more real truth, my friends. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay angry.